Welcome to the world of Yu Meng Long's life story drama. There is a kind of light that never demands to be seen. It does not shout, it does not chase attention, it does not force itself into the spotlight. And yet, because of its quietness, it feels deeper, warmer, more real. That light is Yu Meng Long. Before his name was known to millions, he was simply a young man growing up in silence. He was not the loud one in the room. He was not the kind who pushed himself to be noticed. He observed the world quietly, carrying stories inside his chest rather than speaking them out loud. From a young age, he lived with a softness in him. He felt deeply. He watched closely. He listened more than he spoke. And all of that shaped him slowly, silently. As a teenager, he saved his money piece by piece to buy his first camera. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't impressive. But through that small lens, he found a bridge between himself and the world. He photographed the sky, the quiet streets after rain, strangers with fleeting expressions. And he learned that emotion could be expressed without words. That realization stayed with him forever. When he decided to apply to the Beijing Film Academy, no one really expected it to become the beginning of something remarkable. The world of acting is full of competition. Many come from influential families. Many have been trained to shine since childhood. But Yu Meng Long arrived differently. He came to learn, not to perform. He studied how eyes speak before words, how breath can reveal pain, how silence can be more moving than tears. He learned slowly, but with his whole heart. Yet after graduation, reality did not welcome him easily. He auditioned again and again, receiving the same response every time: "Thank you. We'll be in touch." And then, nothing. No call. No opportunity. No open door. To get by, he worked any job he could find. Sometimes a freelance photographer. Sometimes a small-time video editor. Sometimes just a production assistant holding lights in the background. He was inside the film world but not yet as an actor. Not yet. But he held on to one belief: moving slowly does not mean moving in the wrong direction. There came a time when he began uploading simple songs he sang by himself. No fancy lighting. No polished production. Just a gentle voice born from sincerity. A voice that spoke to those who knew loneliness. And slowly, hearts began to respond. Then, the offer came. A small web drama titled Go Princess Go. A project many people dismissed. Low budget. No grand expectations. But it was there in that quiet, underestimated corner that his light finally became visible. On screen, he didn't try to impress. He didn't try to stand out. He simply became the character with an honesty that could not be faked. Every subtle glance, every soft smile, every pause between words, felt full of meaning. Viewers didn't just see him act, they felt him. And from that small drama, his name began to spread, not because of scandal, not because of controversy, but because of something much more rare: sincerity. Yu Meng Long was never the star who burst into the sky in one blinding flash. He is the gentle light that grows slowly. The light that warms, without overwhelming. The light born from patience, sensitivity, and the quiet courage to remain true to oneself. And in the end, the world saw him. As the world began to notice him, Yu Meng Long stepped into a new chapter of his life. But fame did not rush him. It did not change the rhythm of his heartbeat. Even as his face appeared on screens across Asia, he remained soft-spoken, thoughtful, almost fragile in the way he carried himself. He moved with the same quiet grace that guided him from the beginning. After Go Princess Go, he took on roles that were not loud, but meaningful. He gravitated toward characters who felt deeply, who loved gently, who struggled quietly, characters who, in many ways, reflected parts of him. Audiences were drawn not just to his appearance, but to the stillness he brought into every scene. In an industry that often rewards intensity, he offered tenderness. And people remembered that. His role in Love 020 brought his face to millions more. The drama became a cultural wave. But even then, he did not try to shine brighter than those around him. He didn't try to dominate the screen. He simply belonged there. Calm. Present. Real. But what many did not see was how much pressure came with it. Fame is not always loud, sometimes it is heavy. There were expectations. Endless schedules. Eyes watching every expression, every gesture, every choice. And yet, Yu Meng Long carried all of it quietly, like someone holding a fragile lantern in the wind. He began to expand his craft. He didn't want to just appear in stories, he wanted to help shape them. He stepped behind the camera. He directed music videos, short films. He captured the kinds of images he once photographed as a teenager: skies, empty rooms, small moments filled with emotion. His viewers noticed that his films did not demand attention. They invited you to feel. This was who he had always been. A storyteller of silence. Even as the entertainment world around him grew louder, faster, more competitive, he did not change his essence. He did not trade the softness of his life for something sharper or brighter. He stayed gentle. And that gentleness became his signature. But gentleness can feel lonely, too. There were days when the cameras turned off and the world felt distant. Days when success did not feel like triumph. Days when applause sounded far away. Fame can fill a room and still leave a person feeling alone. Yet he continued walking. Quietly. Deliberately. With the same patience that guided him from the start. Because for Yu Meng Long, the journey was never about how fast he could rise. It was about how truthfully he could remain himself, and that, perhaps, is why so many people were moved by him even if they never fully understood why. He reminded us of something the world often forgets, that there is beauty in gentleness, strength in quietness, and power in simply being real. This was more than a career. This was a life unfolding slowly, softly, sincerely. As his presence in the industry grew, the world around him began to change. The rooms he once entered quietly now turned to look at him. Conversations paused when he walked by. People spoke his name with expectation, sometimes admiration, sometimes assumption, sometimes pressure disguised as praise. And slowly, the world that once felt wide and gentle began to feel smaller. There were schedules that stretched into the night. Days spent rehearsing lines, nights spent memorizing them again. Interviews where every word felt like it needed to be measured. Moments where a single expression could be captured, examined, and interpreted by thousands of strangers. And in the middle of all of it was Yu Meng Long, the same soft-spoken soul who once photographed rainy streets just to remember how they made him feel. But now, those quiet streets were far away. Fame does not simply introduce a person to the world, it introduces the world into a person's life. Messages. Expectations. Compliments that sometimes felt heavy. Criticism that felt heavier. The constant awareness of being seen, even when he was alone. He kept moving forward. Because that was who he was. Slow steps. steady breathing, soft courage. But the silence around him began to feel different. It was no longer the silence of a quiet room, or a gentle morning sky. It was the silence of holding too much inside. The silence of someone who does not know where to place their tiredness. Friends described him as thoughtful, sensitive, someone who felt deeply, someone who cared too much to show it, someone who smiled without needing to explain why, and someone who stayed quiet even when he could have spoken. And that kind of heart, in a world as loud as fame, can become fragile. There were moments, rare but real, when his eyes would drift away during interviews, not out of boredom, but out of distance. As if he was remembering something far away. As if part of him was still standing in the places where he once found peace. The rooftops, the empty streets, the sound of his own footsteps. He continued acting. He continued singing. He continued working. And on the surface, everything looked bright, successful, beautiful. But sometimes, the brightest images are the ones hiding the deepest shadows. Because the truth is simple and universal, even gentle lights can flicker. And sometimes, it is the softest souls who carry the heaviest weight. As time passed, the world did not know everything he was holding. Not the worries. Not the quiet exhaustion. Not the silent questions a person asks late at night when no one is watching. But in the stillness of his performances, in the softness of his gaze on camera, you could feel that something inside him was always searching. Searching for a place where his heart could rest. Searching for a silence that felt safe again. Searching for a world that moved at his pace, not faster. This is where the story begins to shift. Because the world saw the light of Yu Meng Long. But the world did not always see the weight that came with carrying it. And in that unseen space, something begins to change.